Hello, we're on the air. We're on the air.
Previously I did.
But no, not usually.
Okay. That's good.
My gavel is hidden somewhere, so, but I'm going to start the meeting. Hello, Elsie. Hello, Egon. I am really surprised that everybody is here, and I'm very thankful that everybody is here and not on hybrid. And sorry to see some of those numbers climb so crazy this last week. But the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Golden Rain Foundation, thank you, Grant. The regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Golden Rain Foundation of Laguna Woods, a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation, this Tuesday, January 4th, 9:30, Laguna Woods. Call this meeting to order. So Director Karimi, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, Madam President. Would you please stand and face the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So I acknowledge the media. Next item would be approval of the agenda. Are there any objections to the agenda? If there are no objections to the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. The next item is approval of minutes of December 6, 2021, GRF Board Special Open Meeting. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions? If there are no additions, corrections, or deletions, are there any objections? So if there are no objections, the minutes of December 6, 2021, GRF Board Special Open Meeting is approved by unanimous consent. The next item would be approval of minutes of December 7th, 2021, GRF Board Regular Open Session. Are there any addition, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, are there any objections? So if there's no objections, the minutes for December 7th, 2021, GRF Board Regular Open Session is approved by unanimous consent. So it looks like we all lived through the holidays here, and I hope everybody had a great time. This year, GRF has a lot on their plate, and I think that there's a lot to look forward to. We're looking at changes in Clubhouse 1, Building E, and the biggest item is a new business system, for VMS. So I think we all are looking forward to the end of this pandemic. And as it's winding down, the Laguna Woods Village to be back to normal. We're not quite there yet. We've had a lot of cooperation from staff, a lot of direction from staff to help protect us from this pandemic. And I think they've done a real successful job at it. Who knew that it was going to last this long? So I want to go on to the next item, which would be the COO report. Jeff Parker, you're on the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and to the board, good morning, and to our residents, good morning. One update quickly on COVID, and then I have a little short presentation on solid waste, which is a topic that is now coming to the village here. With regards to, as the President had indicated, unfortunately, we're seeing a continued spike in the COVID cases in Orange County. The impact has been pretty serious over this last weekend. We saw 15,000 cases over the weekend were reported. This give you an example. The same weekend a week ago, on the 28th, was only 6,000 cases. So almost a doubling of cases in Orange County over the last week. Same thing has occurred with regards to hospitalizations and ICUs. We were at 282 a week ago. We're now at 545 hospitalizations, which include ICUs, which is up from 66 to 104 people that are in the ICU. So this, unfortunately, the COVID, not just the Omni one, but obviously we still have the Delta variant and all of the variants that are impacting COVID in Orange County, state of California, and nationwide. We hit over 1 million cases in the nation. So that shows you that there's been a big spike since the Christmas and Thanksgiving holidays. With regards to Laguna Woods, our numbers over a week went from 601 to 637. Again, that's Laguna Woods. That's the community, not just the village. Fortunately, only one additional fatality was recorded. So that's a positive news that maybe the impact is in hospitalizations and people getting sick, but not in the level of fatalities. So we'll keep our fingers crossed on that, and our blessings out to everybody. Now I'm going to switch over, and we have a little bit of update and a presentation on solid waste. I'm going to have Grant bring up a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to walk you through. As you know, we've been addressing a solid waste issue once we found out that the city was going through the process of negotiating for a new solid waste contractor. This was preempted by the fact that there was a change in state law that, you can go to the next slide, under the SB 1383, this California state bill required that all residents in California start to take their food waste, or what's known as organic waste, and instead of putting that in the regular trash, they had to source separate that. So that law has gone into effect just a few days ago, January 1st. But in working on this piece of legislation last year, even with COVID, there was talk about, well, maybe we'll delay it or not, but they basically the state moved forward with it. And as a result of that, Laguna Woods, the city of Laguna Woods, had a waste hauler that basically had a continuation agreement, and they basically went back to the city and said, hey, we're not going to extend our agreement. And the reason for that, in part, is that this is a real expensive endeavor on everybody's part, not just our residents that are going to have to pay more, but the waste haulers are going to have to get new trucks, new bins, all of that. And so Waste Management, which was the company at the time, decided that they were going to not have an extension in their contract because they only had 1 year left. They couldn't capitalize all of that in 1 year without it being very expensive to them. So as a result of that, the city went out to bid again. Waste Management actually put in a new proposal along with a company named CR&R, which is another hauler in Orange County that's does a lot of cities in Orange County. As a result of that, the city of Laguna Woods picked CR&R to be their new waste hauler, which meant that between basically September and October, when they went through that process, there was a massive gearing up process for CR&R to take over come January 1. And that's what brings us to this. So the organic recycling in the village is, again, caused by SB 1383 and the changeover to CR&R. And so I'm going to walk through a little bit of some of the topics that it impacts us. So again, just to reiterate, in 2016, when they signed this law, and it had a time frame of when it was going to kick in, the real impact of 1383 was to address methane gas, hydrofluorocarbon gas, and anthropogenic black carbon. These are basically what's going into the landfill. And so what they're trying to do is take this kind of waste and reduce it from going into the landfill, turning it into mulch, or turning it into additional gas or resource. So next slide, 4. Features such organic waste reduction goals, reducing organic waste disposal by 75% by 2025, and recovering 20% of edible food waste by 2025. To meet the goals of SB 1333 requires that residential organic recycling programs begin no later than January 1. And we'll talk about how that's being implemented. Why the change in waste haulers? Again, as I indicated, the city was going through, next slide please. They were going through the requirements of SB 1383, and at that point in time, Waste Management only had a year left on their contract before asking for an extension, and they basically said, hey, we can't implement all of this cost under the current contract, so we're going to pull out, which automatically required the city to go into negotiations and go out for an RFP in which they selected CR&R, as I indicated before. Transition timeline. So the organics recycling requirement and operations for CR&R, and we've been working with the city for this last month a lot with the staff, and Siobhan taking a lead on this along with our operations people to make sure that we understand what CR&R is going to be going through and what the city's going to be implementing, because it affects our residents here in the village quite substantially. So with regards to organics recycling, CR&R will deliver organics carts starting this week, and they will have their first Friday collection occur on January 7th. Trash and regular recycling cart delivery. So they're swapping out all these carts. CR&R will begin to swap out Waste Management trash and regular recycling carts. Those are the personal and shared ones for CR&R carts during the week of January 17th. As you know, especially in United, there are a lot of bins, the shared bins and those, and so those, they just don't have the capacity to go out and take them all one time and get rid of them and put new ones in. So that changeover is going to take basically the rest of next couple of weeks, and probably by the end of January will be completed. The trash and regular recycling bin delivery, CR&R will begin to swap out Waste Management 3-yard bins for CR&R 3-yard bins January 3rd, and they plan to swap out 100 bins per week. As you can tell, we have a number of those throughout the community, especially in United, but also in Third. Bulky item collections. This is a change in our process for bulky item pickup. CR&R will conduct one last third Saturday bulky item pickup on January 15th. So I want to make sure everybody hears that again. So January 15th is the last CR&R Saturday bulky item pickup. And then we're going to go to a new process where during February, CR&R will map and practice routes for zone-based weekly bulky item pickup. So starting in February, we're going to have a bulky item pickup on a weekly basis as opposed to the monthly basis where you call in on a Saturday. So it'll be designated areas. We'll have maps out so everybody knows what zone they're in, and that will be their week to get the bulky item pickup. We'll also obviously provide as much information as we can through our What's Up in the Village, or Village Breeze, Village Television, and the noticing that the city itself is going to be doing. So going on to what are these organics recycling items? What's included here? And this is just a list, and I'm not going to go through every one of them, but this is a yes to food, yes to pet food, yes to soiled paper, tea bags, coffee filters, that type of thing, and yes to greenery, flowers, grass, houseplants, leaves, prunings. All of that is organic and nature and can go into this new organic bin that we have. And it needs to go into this organic, because if we don't reach our goals, then there are going to be either greater restrictions put on the village with regards to their organics, or ultimately there could be actually fines put in place, but that's way down the road. They're going to obviously give us an opportunity to be progressive about this, get this done. And our residents have done a great job when we went to recycling of cardboard and that activity. The village has done an excellent job. So I believe that if we work together, we can address the need to get these numbers in the organics the way the state wants them to see. So what's not going in there? In the organic bin, there's no, and these are important because I think I'll outline them, cardboard, glass, metal, pet waste. Pet waste goes in the regular trash, plastic, polyurethane. Those are recyclables, not in organics though. And so don't put them in don't put these in your organics. Organic recycling and cart use, the how-tos. Going to the next page. Before being placed in an organic cart, and organic waste may be bagged in a compostable or paper bags, wrapped in newspaper. They're also going to make available, CR&R's indicated and the city's indicated that they will have the ability to buy, if somebody wants a special bin that they have developed. I'm not sure when they're going to have those available, but they will be able to purchase those in the future if you want a special bin. But in the meantime, you know, paper bags from go to the grocery store. Instead of getting plastic, get paper bags, you can do that. Or a coffee can. I mean, we talked about that. You could put that and then pour it into the trash can when you go down. Please always close the cart lids when done disposing of the organic waste, because it'll keep that nice and neat. Most importantly, as we move into this, we want to make sure people have the right contact information going forward. So contact CR&R for all trash-related questions. Residential services is no longer your go-to for trash-related issues. They're going to have a operation where they're going to have a call center, so they'll be able to address through CR&R in the city, through their call center, all questions with regards to trash and especially with regards to the organics. For all trash, recycling, organics, recycling questions and or concerns, please call CR&R at 949-625-6735. We also have an email address, which is lagunawoods-recycles@crrmail.com. Also, you can visit the cityoflagunawoods.org/lwvorganics.com, and that's on their City of the Laguna Woods address that you can also comment on that, and it's on their website. So what's next? The village residents can expect a community-wide information letter from CRR going out early this month. During the timeframe that we were working on it, they were going to get this letter out and mail it, but just because of the holiday season and the timing, and that the U.S. Postal Service couldn't guarantee that they were going to get out, they went door to door. So CNR with their staff was out there passing out basically one of the letters that they were communicating with the community to make sure that people understood this change. It's not going to be easy. Change is never easy, but again, I'm trying to meet a state requirement, an SB 1383 that is mandated to local government, which then mandates it to their hauler, which then mandates it on to us as the village. We will continue to work with the city as far as communication, but it is their responsibility to manage this process, and that's why it is. All the calls will be going to their call center. And that's all I have to report on that. Certainly could answer any questions that you might have. And Siobhan, you may have a few things.
Yes, I do, Jeff. Thank you. Honorable President, members of the board, it's my honor this morning to introduce you to our new corporate secretary. Michelle Estrada joined VMS yesterday. Michelle comes to us with more than 10 years' experience working for First Service Residential. This is a property management company handling more than 8,500 properties across the United States and Canada. Her most recent role was as a community manager, acting as an advisor to the boards of directors, homeowners, and vendors. In this position, she was responsible for insurance and accounting, coordinating with legal counsel, and preparing agendas, board packets, and correspondence for boards and committee meetings in accordance with the Civil Code. Michelle has also served in the United States Air Force as a security forces officer. So I'm hoping you will please welcome Michelle to VMS. And I just have two quick announcements. Christmas tree recycling. The next two dates for Christmas tree recycling are January 4th and January 7th. Residents, please call resident services prior to setting out your Christmas tree for pickup. Resident services can be reached at 949-597-4600. The discarded trees will be ground into mulch and used throughout the community in the landscaping operation. And secondly, residents are encouraged to register their bicycles in the VMS Security Bicycle Registry database. This service is offered for free, and it will increase the chances of recovery in the event that your bicycle is stolen. A bicycle registration day is being offered on Monday, January 4th, from 12:30 to 2 p.m. in Clubhouse 5. And again, that's Monday, January 24th, from 12:30 to 2 p.m. in Clubhouse 5. And that concludes my remarks this morning.
President Carpenter, there is a member comment on the trash item from Richard Rader. I'll move him over.
I had a question about what could be recycled, and it had to do with Kleenex, but I noted that you gave a number that we could call, so I'll call that number and get the answer.
Thank you. The next item of business is the open forum.
Madam President, I have a question about the.
Okay.
I just want to know if the single dwelling going to get the same time for the bin as the condos, or that's different, period?
At this point in time, the answer is no on that. The process that was collectively decided on was to certainly where we had 3-yard bins and the larger bins to make sure that we were addressing multi-story, size buildings. Individuals, and the reason they went in that direction was that the calculation of how they will determine whether or not we're doing a good enough job with regards to recycling the organics is by weight and how much weight goes into it. And the determination was individual homes that have just a smaller can are not going to contribute to the weight content. They're going to be weighing it in March and then in the fall, twice a year. So the highlight, and of course there's an additional cost. So the idea was to keep the cost as low as possible, even though it's going up a great deal. Focusing on the multi-story, focusing on, of course, in United where the bins are in that scenario. So where bins are, and we can add another additional organic bin. Because of the weight content, they thought that that would be the best direction to go. Ultimately, if that doesn't meet our 20% and getting to that 75% come 2025, you're going to see additional requirements to roll out to everybody in the community.
So the single unit are not going to get the bin?
Not at this point in
So
time.
please don't call in, that's what I was worried about,
Right.
that they're going to, where's my bin? Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions, Yvonne?
Well, I have a question about the bulky pickup on the 15th. Do we need to call into resident services or?
Yes, you'll call into resident services prior to setting out your items. And again, they have to be out by 7 a.m. the day of collection.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? So if there are no further questions, next order of business would be number 8, open forum. At this time, members only may address the Board of Directors regarding items not on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of this Board of Directors. The board reserves the right to limit the total amount of time allotted for the open forum to 30 minutes. A member may speak only once during this forum. Speakers may not give their time to other people. No audio or video recording by attendings and no rude, threatening comments. Members can attend the meeting by joining the Zoom link, and there's a number on the agenda there, or call 1-669-900-6833 or email meeting@vmsinc.org to have your message read during the open forum. Grant, are there any speakers?
Yes, we currently have 3 speakers in person. The first speaker is Rhoda Littner, 2013C.
I'm coming to talk again about the bus system, and I'm a very happy user of the bus system. I think it's wonderful. It just needs a little attention once in a while, more than it's getting. They eliminated bus C2 before Christmas and put all the route of bus C2 onto C1. So we have a C1 still, but we don't have a C2. That means that C1 is often late in getting back to the clubhouse. It's a 30-minute run, but it's supposed to be a 30-minute run, but the C1 route now, if they have any requests at all, which they often do, the C1 route takes them 40 minutes. They can't make it in 30 minutes. So it's often late, which means people don't make connections, and a lot of people are very unhappy. Another problem with it is that there are too many people on the bus. Yesterday, the C1 bus at 9:30 had 10 passengers. There were 4 empty seats left, but they had 10 passengers. That's too many in those small bus, but it was supposed to have only 5 for COVID reasons. The driver didn't have his mask on most of the time that he was dealing with the passengers. He put it on when he sat down, but that isn't the point. The point is when he's talking to people, he needs to have his mask on. He also didn't quite have the motor on soon enough for anybody to sign in. So when you go count what happened on C1, the 10 people, at 9:30 on January 3rd, you will not find 10 sign-ins because only, I think, 2 or 3 people managed to sign in. But there were, in fact, 10. Then when I went to come back on the C1 on the 11 o'clock run, I was the 9th person to enter. So they only had 8 because I turned around and walked where I was going. I was not going to get on again with 8 other people. So it's a problem, and it needs to be discussed in committee. The appropriate committee, the bus committee, I forget what it's technically called, but the bus committee meets every 2 months. I told people that they were complaining about how crowded the bus was, that they could come to that committee meeting, and nobody was.
Time has expired.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't say. Okay, let me just say.
Wind down.
The next meeting, I will just finish the sentence. The next meeting of the committee is on Wednesday, February 2nd at 1:30 in this room, the boardroom. So I encourage everybody to come to that meeting and say what they want to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Chris Collins, 3306Q.
Good morning, Happy New Year. I'm here to give you an update on the work of the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village on behalf of our residents experiencing temporary financial crisis. So thank you. As the holiday season concludes, the Foundation realizes that there is a great deal to be thankful for. Donations and support to the village, both individuals and clubs, have made it possible for the Foundation to provide help when needed. And that support and donations were provided even though we have all gone through a particularly difficult year due to the pandemic. Without this support, the Foundation would not have been able to assist the vaccination effort here in the village, distribute masks, help more vulnerable residents with $30,000 worth of grocery cards during the pandemic, funding Meals on Wheels, support ongoing fall prevention efforts, and provide emergency financial assistance. In addition to the foundation has made the holidays brighter for village residents. And with these donations, in addition to ongoing services, the foundation has provided holiday cheer to approximately 100 residents. With the help of social services, South County Outreach Food Pantry, the foundation was able to identify those in need of such cheer and provide them with grocery cards to ensure each who has a holiday meal and something that they might not have had otherwise. In addition to all the individual residents who have donated, the foundation is also very, very grateful to the following clubs and groups that have donated this year, particularly since many clubs have been unable to meet and the pandemic was difficult for their members. So thank you to the Men's Golf Club, Women's Golf Club, Laguna Woods Art Association, Ceramic Casters Club, Chicago Club, Democratic Club, Joyful Christian Church, Lawn Bowling Club, New Harmonaires, Needlework Club, New Jersey Club, Players Club, PC Club, Center for Spiritual Living, RV Wheelers Club, Republican Club, Table Tennis Club. Thank you for your generous support to the foundation. It's truly neighbors helping neighbors. For more information, please go to our website, which is foundation.lagunawoodsvillage.org, or contact the foundation at 949-268-2246 or foundation@comline.com. Please note that donations can also be made using PayPal on the foundation website. Thank you.
Marion, 304.
My name is Marion Levine. I live in the towers. I'm visually impaired and I no longer drive. Therefore, I rely heavily on the village transportation system for my food shopping, banking, medical visits, general shopping at Marshall's and Nordstrom's, the library, occasional luncheons out, the gym, emeritus classes. In other words, my life outside of my apartment at the towers. I've been hearing rumors that GRF has sold the village bus fleet to Agewell and that Agewell will begin providing me with service beginning sometime soon. The rumor mill says February. I am a registered user of Agewell's transportation services for travel to my dentist in Irvine. On the whole, they have very reliable service, except for the times when they leave me standing in the cold for 55 minutes for a return home as the sun sets. My questions are these rumors true? If so, when will the residents who are truly the more vulnerable of your residents, when will we be told that the service has been sold? When will it start? And when will the process for arranging our necessary transportation be? Will it be the 5-day fixed schedule? Will it be the 6-day fixed schedule, which we would all love? We would love to get out on Saturdays and not be, kept in our units. And will our current drivers be moved over to the Agewell payroll? These men are the most helpful, courteous employees in the village that the village has. They go out of their way to help us with our use of the current system, and they should be treated with the respect they deserve for their years of service to the village and its residents. I'd also like to know how the decision was reached. Were the resident riders of the system consulted? Was there a survey of the ridership? Thank you for clearing up these rumors for me.
Connie, do we have any email speakers?
Yes, I have one member email comment. 933B, Roberta Burke. A grave error was made when it was decided to keep VMS meeting close to the resident who need and use their services. There are just too many complaints and issues bothering residents. We do not know or see any VMS directors. We, the unit owners, have to hope that their mutual directors think the resident concerns are important enough to bring forward to the VMS meetings. Something we will never know since they all have their own issues to discuss. Don't you think it's time for VMS directors and some staff hear directly from Laguna Woods residents? It is time for them to hear what is really happening, the good and the bad. It is time for both sides to communicate directly with each other. There was always communications between residents and PCM staff. Now, not only is the second floor locked to the people who pay for it, but VMS never fully understands what's going on in the real world of the village. If monthly meetings cannot be open to us, the least we should have is quarterly town halls. Both sides have much to learn from each other. This will be a better community if we have the ability to communicate with each other. Thank you for your time. I do hope that this becomes policy in 2022. This concludes the members' email comment.
That concludes our speakers.
What was the name of the last speaker? Roberta Book? Okay, yeah. Okay. Is there any of the directors here that would like to respond? Okay, Juanita?
I'd like to respond to Roberta. Roberta, the VMS board is not a HOA board. It is a corporation board for a management company. It is made up of representatives from each of the boards, including GRF. And if you have contact information, all have contact information, if you have issues, you should go through either your United or your GRF representatives who make up that board. That board is not an open board.
Thank you, Juanita. All right, is there any other comments? So, comments on the bus, the first thing I will say, there has been no decisions made. We are still in a very preliminary stage of looking at what that agreement involves, okay? We would always make sure that we communicate to our residents before any decisions are made. And so right now, I think that there's a meeting that's scheduled on January 14th.
That's
Is that
correct.
it? January 14th, which is a security access. Is that the one, or M&V? I forgot which one. Mobility. And Don is the chair. So we invite all those who are interested, it'll be in this room, right? All those who are interested to please join us, because we will have a presentation of the proposal. So I want to make sure that everyone understands we are only looking at a proposal at this point in time. And there's a lot of details that have to be reviewed before any decisions can be made. And because the bus system is such a critical part of our community, we would always make sure that all those involved, all the residents, are very well informed. That's our responsibility to do that. So rest assured, that's going to happen. We will let everybody know, okay? And again, I want to say this because we're on TV. No decisions have been made. Okay.
What time is that meeting? What time is that?
I think it's at 11 o'clock in the morning.
11 o'clock? Okay, on January 14th.
January 14th is a Friday? Okay,
It's a special meeting that's being held. It's not
at
the
11
regular.
a.m. Okay, thank you.
Bunny, the meeting's at 11 a.m. in Clubhouse 2.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right,
And we will publicize it in the blast so everyone.
Good, thank you.
right.
Special stop on the bus. Bus 7 makes the special meeting. Bus C1 makes the special for that. Otherwise, people who ride the bus will not be able
Okay, we will make arrangements.
Right. And as part of that discussion, and I want to rest those who are concerned about it, I want to give them a comfort feel here, is no routes are going to be changed. Nothing will be changed. You know, you have the same routes, the same service, everything will remain the same.
Drivers, bus drivers?
And the bus drivers too. The bus drivers would still be driving our buses. It would just be managed by A12. So I just urge everyone to come. So it's going to be a very informative meeting. Is there any other responses? Okay, so I'll go on to the next item, which will be number 10, the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are recommended for action by committees and will be enacted by the board by one motion. In the event an item is removed from the consent calendar by members of the board, such items shall be the subject of further discussion and action by the board. So item A, recommendation from the Finance Committee. Consistent with its statutory obligations, a subcommittee of the board consisting of the treasurer and at least one other board member reviewed and approved preliminary Golden Rain Foundation financials for the month of October 2021. By the vote, ratify that such review be confirmed in this month's board member open session meeting minutes. Are there any objections? So if there's no objections, it's approved by unanimous consent. So the next item is unfinished business. So we will entertain the motion to introduce a revision to the Saddleback Emeritus Institute parking fee. Place notification of 28-day notification of member review and comments to comply with Civil Code 4360 has been satisfied. So Joan, please read the resolution.
Resolution 90-22XX, Saddleback College Emeritus Institute parking fee. Whereas the Saddleback College Emeritus Institute provides educational services to residents and non-residents of Laguna Woods Village, and whereas staff recommends the GRF Board of Directors adopt Resolution 90-21-XX to change non-resident parking fee equivalent to mirror district campus parking fees. And whereas October 1st, 2019, that the Board of Directors of this corporation implemented a student parking pass fee of $50 per semester, $30 for the summer semester, for non-resident students who take Saddleback College Emeritus Institute courses in Laguna Woods Village, effective with the spring semester 2020 enrollment. And whereas December 6th, 2021, an agreement was accepted to match South Orange County Community District, SOCCCD, campus parking fee, which is $40 per semester, $25 for summer semester, subject to change each semester as per the SOCCCD campus parking fees. And now therefore be it resolved, January 4th, 2022, The Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts South Orange County Community College District Saddleback College Emeritus Institute parking fee of $40 per semester and $30 for the summer semester. That should be $25 per the summer semester. Excuse me, that's an
That
error.
correction, yeah.
Resolved further that this resolution shall be effective January 1st, 2022, and Resolution 90-19-49, adopted November 1st, 2019, is hereby superseded and canceled, and fees updated according to this resolution. And resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move that we approve the Saddleback College Emeritus Institute parking fee.
Second? Is there any discussion? Any questions? Because we have Brian here, so you can ask any questions if you'd like. If there are no discussion, do you want to say anything about it, Brian? No? Okay, all right, that's fine.
Are there any objections?
Are there any objections? So if there's no objections, it's approved by unanimous consent.
Unanimously.
So the next item is resolution to update committee appointments. Joan, will you read the resolution? The changes.
Right. Resolution 90-22-XX, GRF committee appointments. Resolved January 4th, 2022, that the following persons are hereby appointed and ratified to serve on the committees of this corporation. So I'll read just the changes. Strategic Planning Committee, Anthony Liberatore has become an alternate for United. Reza Bastiani has been appointed from United as a full-time committee member. Under CAC, Community Activities Committee, add Maggie Blackwell from United. Under the Equestrian Center Ad Hoc Committee, add Pat English, United, and Pearl Lee for United. Under the Revenue Resources Ad Hoc Committee, add Diane Casey from United and Azar Asghari from United. Under the Finance Committee, Diane Casey has become a regular United member, to no longer an alternate, and Anthony Liberatore has been eliminated. Under Information Technical Advisory Committee, ITAC, United still has one vacant position. Under the Landscape Committee, add Diane Casey for United, eliminate Pat English for United, and eliminate Azar Asghari as the alternate for United. Under Maintenance and Construction, add John Frankel, now this needs to be changed, third as an alternate, Grant, under Maintenance and Construction. I checked with Robert. Frankel is an alternate for third, okay.
Okay.
And eliminate Kush Bahada as an alternate for third. Add Cash Ashrikar for United and add Anthony Liberatore for United. Under Clubhouse Renovation Ad Hoc Committee, add Pat English for United. Under the Broadband Ad Hoc Committee, add Diane Casey for United, and there is a vacant place waiting for United. Under Mobility and Vehicles Committee, add Kush Bahada from third. And then under Disaster Preparedness Task Force, eliminate Anthony Liberatore from United and add Diane Casey from United. Under Laguna Woods Village Traffic Hearings, add Mark Laws from third, eliminate Donna Shostak for an alternate for third, and change Anthony Liberatore, eliminate Anthony Liberatore as alternate, make him full-time. Under Purchasing Ad Hoc Committee, eliminate Cash Ashrakar for United and Diane Casey for United, and add Anthony Liberatore from United, and there is still a vacant position from United. And that concludes this reading. Is resolved further that Resolution 90-2148 adopted December 7th, 2021, is hereby superseded and canceled, and resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I move that we approve this resolution.
Second.
Are there any objections? So if there are no objections, the updated committee appointments with the correction that was made is approved by unanimous consent. Excuse me, I have a frog. So the next item of business is to entertain a motion to accept a donation of equestrian dressage court valued at $1,200. So Joan, please read the resolution.
Resolution 90-22-XX, donation agreement between GRF and Equestrian Borders for dressage court. This agreement, entered into this 4th day of January 2022, is by and between the Golden Rain Foundation, GRF, a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation, and Equestrian Borders, donor, who donated a dressage court for the large arena. Whereas GRF and donor recognize the, and this word should be, importance of community facilities and amenities. And whereas GRF and donor acknowledge the benefit of donations when they have a purpose consistent with GRF goals and are in the best interest of Laguna Woods Village. And whereas the donor has offered to donate the equestrian dressage court totaling approximately $1,200, and whereas the Recreation and Special Events Department, or COO, reviewed and affirms the proposed donation, that the proposed donation meets the criteria for acceptance contained in the GRF donation policy, which are A, meet a true need of the facility, B, not interfere with the intended current or future use of the facility, and C, not require the relocation of other equipment or infrastructure to accommodate the donation. Now therefore be it resolved January 4th, 2022, that GRF and the donor, in accordance with the described conditions and obligations herein after set forth, agree as follows. 1. The donation known as Equestrian Dressage Court, described below, is donated in its entirety to GRF, hereafter owned by GRF and managed on behalf of the residents of Laguna Woods Village by Village Management Services, Inc. Section 2, donation description. Equestrian Dressage Court, space of the facility is the Equestrian Center, large arena. The location is at the Equestrian Center. Section 3, amount of the donation, broken down, the item costs $1,200, no charge for installation cost, no charge for maintenance cost, total estimated donation is $1,200. Section 4, GRF reserves the right to move or remove and or retire the donation following cessation of the 5-year period. The term shall commence upon the date entered into and indicated above. Section 5, GRF will not replace the donation or community space improvement if it is stolen, vandalized, worn out, irreparably damaged, destroyed, or expires. But Section 6, installation and maintenance, GRF shall be responsible for installation and maintenance of the item, including any reasonable repairs. And Section 7, the term of this agreement is a minimum of 5 years or beyond if applicable. Resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized to carry out this resolution. I move that we approve this donation.
Second? Okay. Is there any discussion? No discussion? So is there any objections? So if there are no objections, this donation is approved by unanimous consent. And everybody, if you get a chance, go out to the Equestrian Center and see the new dressage court. Thank you. So the next item is to discuss and consider Investment Strategy Advisory Committee. The reason this is on the agenda is because it's a different type of committee. It's not going to be an ad hoc committee, and it won't be a standing committee. But I'll let Jim talk, and so that we can vote and go forward with establishing the committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you mentioned, we want to discuss and consider an ad hoc advisory committee for our
Mike?
investments.
Is your mic
Uh,
on? Microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, over the past, say, 8 or 9 months, there's been a lot of discussion as to our investment policy. And I want to clarify something, that we had an ad hoc committee, a similar ad hoc committee back in 2019. At that time, the committee drafted, and it was approved, an investment policy. That investment policy was in 2 pieces. It was the policy statement, and there were also some strategy limitations associated with that policy. Now, in 2021, there were some challenges to that investment policy, and it needed to be clarified in terms of its compliance to code and the responsibilities of both the board and VMS, the management agent. So we clarified that in an update of the so-called investment policy. What we're proposing now is to not look at, while we have the policy, we need to look at the strategy. We've had some discussions as to what that strategy can be and should be. In 2019, we had a group of qualified investment professionals living in the community that gave us advice and counsel. And what we're proposing is to discuss and consider that for this year, 2022. They have the same type of investment panel to look at and kind of set our strategies for the next year or 2 or 3, depending on what they think is appropriate. Our investments are long-term. They're not short-term. We're not looking at any sort of quick turnaround. We're looking at stability. We're looking at yield last. So we're looking at stability in terms of our investments. So what I'm proposing and what we're proposing is that we consider establishing that ad hoc strategy committee.
So basically, it wouldn't be an ad hoc committee because ad hocs are temporary, and it would be more like the audit team, right? Meeting periodically and consists of, it doesn't have to consist of people on the board. It can be
Yes.
residents that have that type of experience, that would bring forth that type of experience. So that would be very critical.
Yes, Madam Chair, and I'm glad you brought that up. We do have what we call a select audit committee, and this is a group of individuals with some accounting and finance background that actually review our audit procedures and results of the audit each year. It comes together, it stays together for approximately a month or 2, and it is essentially disbanded, and then the next year, a similar or new committee is formed. This would be that type of committee.
Right. And so you made a motion?
I'll entertain a motion to begin discussions and to authorize the consideration of an ad hoc, or, I'm sorry, as investment strategy advisory committee.
Do we have a second?
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
not a motion. He says, I'll entertain a motion. Are you making a motion, Jim?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm making a
I move.
motion. Thank you.
I move. Say, I move.
I move.
Thank you, Jim.
Sorry.
Okay, is there any discussion? So if there's no discussion, are there any objections? So if there are no objections, we will go forward and establish an investment strategy advisory group
Sorry, who seconded the motion?
by unanimous consent. Okay.
thank
So what the task will be is Jim will be working on a mission statement and talking to people that would be interested in that particular committee. And I do have to tell you that it will be a limited amount of people because, we won't be looking for around 4 people. Isn't that?
Yeah, 3 or
okay.
4 people.
Okay. All right, thank you. So the next item is to entertain a motion to approve the recommendation by the Community Activities Committee for pool operations to modify pool hours. And basically this will save us about $117,000 a year. So I would like Brian to come up and talk about that.
But letting me read the resolution.
Yeah.
Thank you, Honorary President.
Talk about it.
Good morning, Board Directors, members of the public. So back in August of 2021, we conducted a cost savings analysis within the department, and we looked at different aspects, and we came up with the pool operations and lifeguard services as a potential savings to the community. And so we did a comprehensive analysis on the utilization data of all 4 major pools that we have, in addition to Pool 6, which Pool 6 is only open in the summer. And we basically came up with some operating hours adjustments at the various pools, in addition to reducing some of the lifeguard services at those pools that would coincide with the operating hours that we are proposing. And based off of that, we came up with about a $200,000 savings, which was then presented to the GRF board members and the CSC committee, which felt that that was a little too extensive, a little bit too overreaching with the amount of hours that were cut back and the lifeguard services that were cut back. So we came up with an option 2. And you can see both options on the backside under table 1, where we have option 1, which was the initial proposal, and then the changed proposal, which is option 2, is basically what we came up with for that. So basically, both options were presented to the CAC committee, reviewed and discussed, and felt that option 2 was the better alternative to continuing to operate our pools, provide services to the community, in addition to experiencing some type of cost savings over the long term, which is about $120,000 or $117,000. And that's an estimate based off our current rate that we're paying. And just a heads up that the rate is changing, and that will be discussed in the closed session. So there's additional savings to be had by going with option 2 at this time. The biggest difference really between the 2 options is option 1 being a year-round type of schedule. So right now what we're doing, we have a peak summer schedule for the pools. In addition to that, then we transition into the fall through the spring non-peak times. And so we have 2 different schedules. We have a summer schedule and then a non-peak schedule. And option 2 would still have that in place, whereas option 1 would not have that in place. So we would have additional savings in options 1 by obviously sticking to 1 type of schedule year-round, as opposed to option 2 where we still have the 2, the summer and the winter hours. A couple other notable things I really want to point out. Basically, Pool 2 is really the pool that's going to be impacted the most, where we wouldn't have a lifeguard at all. It is basically, it's been identified that Pool 2 really is a lap pool. It is the least utilized pool that we have. We average about 9,000 swimmers per year. And the other pools, for example, like Pool 1, or 4, or 5, they average about 30,000 a year. So the number is dramatically lower, and it's primarily lap swimmers who are more into, working out, maybe a little bit more physically fit. They're not there for sunbathing. They're not there necessarily for leisurely swimming. Of course, some of them are, but the majority are there to swim laps. So we feel like, that's a good place to start to evaluate whether, we can have a pool without a lifeguard to have that cost savings. And I just want to note that there is no law that says you have to have lifeguards at pools. It is clearly at the discretion of the board. Excuse me. So there's no law that states you have to have a lifeguard there. So it's really, we have some flexibility in regards to what we want to do. Also, I want to mention that this was presented to the risk assessor through the risk management department. And at this point in time, there is no change in the current premiums that we will be paying. So obviously moving forward, moving into the future, that could potentially change. But I mean, at this time, there's no impact on the insurance premiums. So basically, these are the two options that we are presenting to you. And just want to kind of tie this back in together. So the savings in hours of operation, so with option 1, we're looking at 12,000 hours, roughly. And option 2 is 14,000 hours. What we're currently having is about 21,000 hours of operation. So it's a slight trim back, and really what we're focusing on is trimming back on the hours that we open. So we pushed it back an hour later at pools 1 and 4, which based on the utilization is not a lot of usage, so the impact on residents will be very limited. And then we're also closing an hour earlier at those pools. Again, not a whole lot of impact on residents swimming late at night or later in the day at those pools 1 and 4. So we feel pretty comfortable in moving forward with that, hours change or the operational change in hours there. And then again, the biggest thing is just not having a lifeguard over at pool 2. And I will go ahead and leave it up for discussion and answer any questions you may have.
So I'll have Joan read the resolution, and then we'll open it up for discussion with the board. Okay.
Resolution 90-22-XX, Pool Operating Hours and Lifeguard Services Modification. Whereas, staff was directed to propose modifications to pool operating hours and lifeguard services to enhance pool operating efficiencies. CAC recommended the following proposed pool operating hours and lifeguard services modification, resulting in the estimated annual cost savings of $117,230, subject to affirmation by the Finance Committee and Board approval. Proposed pool operating hours and lifeguard services modification. Pool 1, winter hours, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., summer hours, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Pool 2, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., winter hours, no lifeguard. Summer hours, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., no lifeguard. Pool 4, winter hours, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Summer hours, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Pool 5, winter hours, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Summer hours, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Pool 5, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. in the winter. Summer hours, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Pool 6, winter hours, closed. Summer hours, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. That open summer only. Whereas on December 9th, 2021, the Community Activities Committee, CAC, recommended the proposed pool operating hours and lifeguard services modification, resulting in the estimated annual cost savings of $117,230. And whereas, at the December 15th, 2021 Finance Committee meeting, the committee affirmed the CAC recommendation of the proposed pool operating hours and lifeguard services modification, resulting in the estimated annual cost savings of $117,230. And now, therefore, be it resolved January 4th, 2022, the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts the recommended pool operating hours and lifeguard services modification, resulting in the estimated annual cost savings of $117,230, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move that we approve this resolution. One minute.
Is there any discussion?
We do have a member comment on this item. It is Rhoda Littner.
Okay.
It's hard for me to believe that I'm the only person commenting on this, that none of you thinks it's a problem to eliminate lifeguards in Pool 2. Can't believe that. 80,000 of that money comes from eliminating lifeguards in Pool 2. Changing the time sounds like a good idea. In fact, I think you could even make them a little less available in terms of time during what you call the winter hours. And it's not clear, if you're treating summer as just June, July, and August, then Pool 6 could be closed in May, and Pool 6 could be closed in September, too. But no lifeguard. Did you actually ask the swimmers if they would continue swimming without a lifeguard? I can't believe that that has happened. You did ask them, and they said yes, that was fine with them. Okay, well, I just want to say there's one of the questions that your insurer asked was, have there been previous cases where a lifeguard is needed? Did you check that? I wonder if somebody checked that. Did you go back? I remember firsthand that a woman drowned in Pool 4. It wasn't in Pool 2, but it was in Pool 4. She was swimming laps across down the pool and back. She was in the deep end, and she did not have a heart attack. She did not have a stroke. She was not especially old. She got a cramp in her leg, and she drowned. It was about 15 to 18 years ago. And of course, they fired the lifeguard who wasn't paying attention. But these things happen. Is it really worth it? So, thank you.
Okay, Debbie?
I have some questions for Brian. That was my first thought. I mean, I used to be on CAC, and then I wasn't on CAC when this came up. I also am now an alternate on the Finance Committee, so I didn't get to vote. I have talked to some lap swimmers who have expressed concern about no lifeguard because they feel that if somebody had an issue, they aren't physically capable of helping anybody. My question is, what is the age limit on that pool? Are we able to limit guests in Pool 2 and only limit it to our residents to help mitigate some of the risk? And then also, what is the nearest phone, or is there a way to put some type of a panic button there so that if somebody did have an issue that we could get 911 there immediately, not expect somebody to go get out of the pool and get to their cell phone? I just feel like I wish we had some kind of a plan B there. I understand we haven't had any issues that have been, recognized. I did do a lot of investigation about this because it did concern me that all of a sudden we're not going to have a lifeguard somewhere. Because $80,000 a year is a great savings. I'm not arguing the money savings. I'm arguing that if somebody were to have an incident, it's going to cost us a lot more than $80,000 to if somebody were to, drown or something happened there. So those are my things, is what can we do to mitigate, trying to move away a lifeguard and making it so people who do swim there feel more comfortable because they don't want to be in charge if somebody were to have an incident. That's what my lap swimmers tell me.
Yeah, so certainly I can answer that. With not having a lifeguard there would be ample notification to notify those who are going to Pool 2 that there's not going to be a lifeguard there. So it's kind of swimming at your own risk. Now, we will have the necessary rescue equipment, the rescue tubes, or the rings, I should say, the pole, so to speak. We do have an emergency phone on deck, on the pool deck over there, that's accessible to people to make emergency phone calls, so they don't have to necessarily go to their cell phone themselves. So those are the items that we would have in place, and certainly we would have everything there to make sure the necessary equipment is there to make a rescue in case something does happen.
What is the age limit? Is there an age limit on that?
There is no
pool?
age limit on the pool.
Have we considered that we shouldn't have any children?
Well, okay, I take that back. I mean, the age limit is 16. I mean,
Oh,
you have to be a
okay.
minimum of 16, and I mean, at the upper end, there's no age limit, obviously.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Joan?
Is there any concern with having single swimmers, persons swimming laps by themselves,
Yeah, I mean, people do it all the time, obviously, and they do swim by themselves.
but with the lifeguard present?
Currently with a lifeguard present, yeah.
I mean, when there's no lifeguard, my concern is, when there's no lifeguard there and you're by yourself and you have a cramp, help. I mean, is
Sure,
there
I mean, that's a valid
any
concern.
notification or something, maybe, you know?
I mean, we do have staff on site over Clubhouse 2 that would periodically check the pool, but that may not be sufficient enough time, obviously, in the
right.
event something happens. You know, so the intent is to monitor this program very closely.
Yeah.
And to make sure that it is, you know, effectively working. And if it's not, then obviously we have to make some adjustments and some changes.
How closely is it going to be monitored?
Well, we have to look at the utilization. One thing I would like to mention, since this is a lap pool, the lap lanes themselves will be reservable through courts. So we will have some idea how many people are swimming at what time, and we can kind of monitor that too to see what the volume is. So if there is an individual swimmer out there, I mean, we can certainly go out there and take a look at it.
So is it only by reservation?
This would be only by reservation, yeah.
All right, Baby?
Do we have any video camera there, or is it possible to put a camera that maybe could be monitored in the office?
I mean, that's certainly a possibility. Yeah, there's not one there now.
Reza?
These are swimmers that usually they're experienced, that they do lap. Do they sign a waiver?
Yeah, they would have to sign in, you know, as they enter the pool area, there's a waiver sheet, and they would have to sign in, just like all the other facilities.
So
that we
is
have.
that enforced, or they just do it if they will?
Well, we would have to monitor that
Yeah,
too.
we have to monitor that because we announcing that there is no lifeguard and you swimming here at your own risk. Because most of these facilities that I saw before that they don't have a lifeguard, they have the sign that said you're swimming at your risk, and then you do the waiver. And usually they don't let guests in those kind of pools because they're not going to take the, you know, risk or liability of that. Are we having those items also in place so we protect the swimmers and the community?
Yeah, I do want to mention real quick, with the court system, we will have obviously people signing up, so we'll know exactly who those people are, in addition to the sign-in sheets actually at the pool deck. Now, in regards to guests, right now the GRF policy is that guests are allowed. That would have to be a modification in the policy that guests would not be allowed to be able to swim over a pool too.
Well, that's the question. Do we want to take the risk for the pool that we don't have a lifeguard with a guest?
Just my thought is that it's going to be posted that there will be no lifeguard there. Okay, there will be a big sign that says no lifeguard. So if people understand that there's no lifeguard and they want to go to a place where there is a lifeguard, they can swim. My understanding is there are very few community swimming pools. Costa de Casa, I mean, all of these other communities do not have lifeguards. And so my thinking is, I like the idea of being able to monitor it. And if we find that it's a problem, you know, we can always go back to the lifeguards. But the question is the lifeguard really necessary? Especially with how many incidents? One incident in all our pools. Yeah, I think you mentioned one or two in the last 15 years.
I'm aware of two in the last, 5 years since I've been here. So
Yeah,
I'm not sure what happened before that.
But those are the ones that we even have the lifeguard.
I'm sorry?
Those events where we had the lifeguard, it's not that it happened without the
Correct,
lifeguard.
correct.
Okay, is there any, Jim?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of technology when we replace people. And I just Googled a drowning prevention camera system. And it's obviously for homes. But I would suggest taking a look at some sort of technology that helps us to feel more comfortable with this decision.
And what type
Okay.
of technology?
Well, this was a camera, and it's obviously some sort of motion detection
Oh,
or
okay.
something. It could be that when somebody's there, the camera comes on, and therefore,
Okay.
it's being monitored by someone. I don't know. Again, I'm not part of the operation, but I'm a big proponent of having technology replace. When you do things like this, is there technology available to limit our exposure?
Yeah, we would have to do some research and see what's available out there for that.
Okay, Yvonne?
Well, I'll take up the research for that. And I just want to point out to everybody that the people that are lap swimmers are the younger residents that live in the village. Not that they can't have a problem, but they're experienced people. That's why they want to lap swim, Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
President Carpenter, Director Addington also wanted to make a comment.
All right.
Hi, partner.
Thank you. I just wanted to, when we talk about incidents, I mean, there was, and Brian knows of two in the past, since he's been here, and Rhoda mentioned the lady who drowned. I think it was Rhoda. Anyway, is that only fatalities, or would that include, one of our lifeguards actually saved a woman's life here a few months back, or maybe it was a year, who knows, with COVID, but over in pool 4, and she was in serious distress, and the lifeguard saved her life. Now, when we went through this in committee, of course, pool 4 isn't one of the ones we're talking about, but when we talk about incidents, does that include people that got saved or just people that drowned? I was just curious about that.
The two incidents that I was referring to, both individuals were saved.
Two? Okay, are you
Two,
done?
yeah.
All right, all right.
I'm sorry. Then one of those must have been the pool 4
Yes.
saving thing.
Yes. We had one in pool 4 and one in
Thank
pool
you.
5.
Okay.
Great. Thank you very much.
Egon, you're next.
Yeah, I'm with Bunny on this. That first of all, not all pools in other places have lifeguards, and if you feel the need to swim at a pool with a lifeguard, you don't have to go to pool 2 if that's the one they want to take the lifeguard from. And I agree that lap swimmers are not the kind of people that probably need to be observed because of their skill. They wouldn't be doing that if they were neophyte. Plus, people go in the ocean and rivers and stuff all around and at their own risk, and there are no lifeguards present. Once in a while, people do drown. I know in Bakersfield, people used to drown in the Kern River all the time. But it's a significant budget item, and I guess the reason that this thing came up is because the rates are going up substantially for the hourly rate for the lifeguard, and that's what probably caused you to look at it. But anyway, I'm with Bunny. We still have lifeguards in some places, so people have choices. They do not need to swim in unprotected pools, and I think doing that is probably enough. Thank you.
Elsie?
I'm sorry. And we're only, I believe, as I recall it, we're only talking about the one pool, are we not? I mean, I think people need to know that.
Right, just
Aren't
one
we only
pool.
talking about the one pool, right?
Yeah, it's just pool 2.
I think that might be comforting for a lot of people if they, if that was emphasized. Thank you.
Right.
We have 2 member comments, one from Richard Rader and one from Suzanne Frank.
Okay.
I move over Richard Rader.
Thank you. From what I've heard, I think the best solution is to make sure that when people sign up for Pool 2, that they also sign up at that time the waiver. And you make abundantly clear to residents that that Pool 2 is not covered by a lifeguard. With regard to a camera, I have 2 concerns. It's a good idea, but a camera which requires someone monitoring it means that we assume additional risk if someone was not continuously monitoring it. Second point is, if assuming that there is an automatic camera detection system that can differentiate between someone swimming, splashing, or more importantly, having a problem, who would it signal? How would you get help? So that's why the camera thing, I think I wouldn't, unless you want to look into it, maybe some of these concerns can be addressed. I go with my first comment that I think that you could save money and you can also make sure that residents are aware that they're swimming at their own risk. Thank you.
There was another comment?
Yes, Suzanne Frank.
Okay.
Hi, Suzanne Frank, 227B. As far as you're signing the waiver, we have one of those down at the tennis club. We have it for members, and we also have it for just residents coming in. And I'm sure many of you are aware, there's a lawsuit going on from 2018. It's going to go to trial in April of 2023. That's 5 years that you've been paying lawyer fees for someone who fell on the tennis court, and he signed the waiver. So obviously, the waiver doesn't really cover you. That's my comment. And I'm an excellent swimmer, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to have a heart attack one day when I'm swimming by myself. You're talking about $80,000. That's ridiculous. In a community of this size, VMS's budget is huge. I cannot believe that you're not going to have a lifeguard there because you want to save $80,000. Thank you.
Joan?
I have to agree with Suzanne. I'm not in favor of this if we have no lifeguard at Pool 2, because I'm just wondering if a person's life is worth $80,000.
Is there any other comments? Okay, so I think we need to take a vote. So all those in favor of the...
President Carpenter?
Yes?
We can vote via the screen. I'll bring it up one moment.
Okay.
Do it on the screen and raise hands on the Zoom.
Yeah, and you'll capture the ones on the hybrid, right?
That's correct.
Okay, has everybody voted?
Director Garthoffner?
Egon and Bunny.
I voted, yeah.
Egon and Bunny. I'm sorry, Bunny. Egon and Elsie. They're online.
Directors Addington and Garthoffner, please state your vote.
I did. I sent it to the conference organizer. Who should I have sent it to?
This isn't a secret vote. This is just It's a regular vote. So if you just want to state it, I can record it.
Okay, I already sent it in, but anyway, I'm going to have to abstain on this one. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm going to vote not to accept I've had a change of heart here, not to accept the option to reduce.
All right, so Director Karthoffner has voted no. And then so
Wait. My system's not working. That's a no.
all right, Director Hopkins votes no. Director Mukhopadhyay is absent, I see. Okay.
It's 5-5. It's 5-5. 5 yes and 5 no. And 1 abstain. And 1 absent.
Okay, at this point in time, since I've already voted,
So to clarify, we have 4 yes votes and 5 no votes, 1 abstention, and 1 director is absent.
Motion fails.
Participate. I have to participate.
Madam President,
yes?
I just want to make sure that we understand the vote is only on the lifeguard, not the hours of the pools. Because hours of pools doesn't make any difference on, accident. It's only for the lifeguard part of it that I think, we're seeing strong, resentment from the membership. And, we're trying to protect the members. It's not the hours. So we just want to separate that, maybe making 2 motions.
We can do that, but we
not
have to
now.
have a new resolution.
Right.
Yeah, I know, but, I just want to, the
Right.
reason that I voted no is not only on the lifeguard, not the
Okay.
hours.
And I
just
think,
wanna-
that is the consensus of the board. But I do think we have to take it back to recreation
Yes.
because we have to go back and just vote on the hours. And,
Yeah,
and a new resolution has to be created, correct,
okay.
Jim?
Right.
Yeah,
So I request that we make a new resolution, maybe for the, next meeting or even during
Right.
this meeting, that we separate that and lifeguard be taken out and the hours to stay there.
right.
Thank
Wait,
you.
Madam Chairman?
Pardon?
Elsie?
Elsie?
Yes, Madam Chairman?
Yes?
Can't we just do can't we just make a revised motion or a new motion? And then do the resolution later and have it come up next month for the vote?
No,
Next month, yes.
we have to go back to committee
Well,
and then we create.
So if we wanted to amend it, we should have done it before then. If we
Right.
wanted to amend
you can reconsider.
should have thought faster, sorry.
So Joan, what do you have to say?
There's a possibility. Those who voted against it, the winning side, can reconsider this motion at this time. And since the problem is the lifeguard, we could eliminate the lifeguard out of this motion and the $80,000 that it would save. And that would be the motion that we would pass. It would be just the hours. So if someone, I'm willing to do it because I was on the winning side, quote, and I was against it, but the people who were against it were against it because of the lifeguard hours. So I would move that we accept the hours that are proposed
Under option 2.
under option 2.
Okay.
Right, but still keep a lifeguard at Clubhouse 2, and thus eliminating the savings of $80,000. So it would have to be rewritten, but that would be the motion, which would be to change the pool hours to save how much was it? I forgot.
About 37
117.
something, 37 and
It was
change.
about 37,000.
$37,000, about
Which,
$37,000.
again, keep in mind with the new fees that we're going to be looking at a little later today, that's going to be a little bit more than 37,000.
Say that again, Brian, I can't understand you with a mask, sorry.
I'm sorry. So basically, we for the new upcoming contract for starting in 2022, the hourly rate for lifeguards has changed. It's gone from $25.50 roughly to about $29. So that's going to be in the closed session discussion with the contract in front of you.
So if we vote to accept just the hours changes and keep the lifeguard, then we would eliminate that savings. And we're going to discuss the rate for the lifeguard in the closed meeting.
And-
Yeah, I mean, there's
and
no-
there's about a 200,000 increase a year. Isn't it approximately that?
If we keep the current hours, so keep in mind, under this proposal, option 2, that's less hours than we currently have.
Yeah, it's
So
less
there is
hours.
going to be still a reduction of what's going to be presented to you this afternoon. But, so that's why I say, yes, I mean, you can do option 2, and then have the lifeguard at pool 2, and you'd still have a little bit of a savings. It's probably close to 50,000.
Yeah.
So, instead of 37.
Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm going to make a motion that we reconsider this motion and eliminate,
The
just
lifeguard.
for safety's sake, or for quickness, eliminate the no lifeguard at pool 2 and keep the lifeguard at pool 2, but keep the hours that are proposed.
Correct.
And that's my motion.
I would second that.
Elsie
I will second
seconded.
that.
Good, Elsie.
Now you'd have to vote.
Okay, all those in favor? Do you want to do it on the?
Yes, do a vote on
On the, yeah.
the screen or by hand.
So do it on the screen. It's not coming up for me.
It's not coming up. Oh, there, well, it says it, but not on our screen.
It's not on our screen.
Yeah.
We're still getting the Zoom feed.
One moment.
Okay. Now, this is the revised motion. Okay.
Directors Garth Hoffner and Addington?
Yes,
Okay, so let's talk about what we voted for. What was the motion?
The motion was to accept the limited pool hours in option 2, with the exception of we're going to keep the lifeguard. Is that correct, Joe?
Right, that's right.
Director Hopkins, what was your vote?
I'm a yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
The final vote being I had 9 votes yes, 1 vote no, and 1 director is absent.
okay. So the motion was approved by the majority? Not unanimous, because by the majority. All right. At this time, if you choose, if the board chooses, do they wish to take a 5-minute break? Somebody says yes. And okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess and come back and then resume for the committee reports.
Thank you. That was tough.
contract doesn't allow us to do that.
Contract doesn't allow us to do what?
What he said, what Ray's was saying is, he was going to say to the lady, we're gonna sell the bus system, we're not gonna sell.
The members, because we're gonna, there's a comfort come first.
Right, and I'm saying, unless we dot i's and cross t's, we can't stay that.
No, well,
Okay?
we
Because-
may, I didn't say that we will.
I mean, yet to be discussed. But,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what is the 5-year, 10-year plan for these, the transportation?
So will we resume our meeting? And the next order item for business is the committee reports. So Director Hopkins, will you give us the treasurer's report? And the finance committee report?
Yes. Thank you, Madam President. And we have the first chart for the treasurer's report. Thank you. Okay. So this is slide 1, and through the reporting period through November 30th, 2021, the total revenue for this doesn't look like the correct chart here. Oh, yes. The total revenue for GRF was $40.7 million. That's comprised of the assessment revenue of 28.8 and the non-assessment revenue of approximately 11.9 million. Okay? And that's compared to expenses of 37.4 million. The result is a net revenue of $3.3 million. Slide 2, please. Now, turning to the operating portion of our financial results, the operating fund, that's without depreciation, shows a favorable variance of $1.4 million, or a surplus of $1.4 million. Slide 3, please. This next chart shows the same actuals from the income statement, but it's compared to budget. During that period, GRF ended better than budget by $2.83 million. Next chart. Now, this slide shows the most significant budget variances by category, with the green bars representing favorable variances and the orange bars representing unfavorable variances. First, employee compensation and related expenses had a variance over a favorable variance of $2,487,000. and it was primarily due to open positions in security and information systems. And of course, the recruitment is still in process for that. Also, certain janitorial and recreational positions remain unfilled while the clubhouses were closed, and fewer hours than budgeted in transportation were due to the consolidation of the commercial route earlier this year. Moving towards the trust facilities fees. We are favorable, it's a favorable variance of $1.136 million, and it's due to more manors being sold. Year-to-date revenue generated from the $5,000 per month manor transfer fee is 43% higher than anticipated. The community had 960 resales during this period versus a budget of 682. That's 278 higher, or 41% more than anticipated, and 59% higher than the 605 resales for the same period in 2020. Now, with community events expense, we have a favorable variance of $327,000 due to facility closure during the pandemic. The budget assumed the facilities would reopen in March, but they actually reopened on June 15th, based on the state guidelines. Of course, an offset can be found in the clubhouse rentals and event fees revenue. Now, moving on to the unfavorable variances. The unrealized gain or losses on our investments has a negative variance of $652,000. And this is due to the adverse conditions for bond fund investments during the reporting period. Our portfolio is almost $20 million, and we planned a gain through November of $149,000. But the loss through November is $503,000. It is important to note, however, that this is an accounting-only entry, which reflects the current market for market investment conditions. No actual losses are incurred unless and until a transaction to liquidate is executed. This is why the gains or losses are considered to be and called unrealized. It's important to note that prior to 10 years ago, the accounting community did not require the entry on our books for unrealized gains and losses. So this is relatively new. It's important to note that we invest for long term and primarily in Vanguard and Fidelity bond funds containing government-backed treasury bonds. The market for these funds may fluctuate, but over the long term, the market has a history and projection of modest increases in value. Last year, the same portfolio had an unrealized gain of $437,000. So the two-year results are simply break even or $66,000 loss over a two-year period. That is an unrealized loss of basically 0.3%. And lastly, and very important, our bond funds have a consistent cash yield. The cash yield over the same 23-month period has been $501,000. Moving on to another unfavorable variance is clubhouse rentals and event fees of $462,000, and that's due to facility closure during the pandemic. The budgeted revenue assumed facilities would again reopen in March. The facilities opened June 15th based on state guidelines. Moving on to miscellaneous revenue, we had an unfavorable variance of $421,000, and that's due to less fees being collected during the facility closures. And that includes traffic violation fees, class fees, photocopy fees, all sorts of fees where we did not have the activity that we had or budgeted for. Moving on to slide 5, please. Looking at sources of revenue other than the assessment other than assessments such as fees and rentals, to date, we have just under $11.9 million, as shown on the pie chart. By category, we can see that our largest revenue is broadband services, okay, and that's followed by trust facilities fees, and of course, golf revenue. These revenues are important offset to cost and assist in the management of assessment fees. Slide 6, please. Expenses to date are $37.4 million, and that includes depreciation. And as shown on this pie chart, the largest category is compensation, depreciation, cable programming, insurance and professional fees, and legal fees. It's important to note that personnel expense as a percent of the total is trending lower than the 59 to 60% it has been in previous years. This reflects the current nationwide employment trend and puts significant stress on the current resources. Slide 7, please. Here we have a slide to graphically show the resale history from 2019 to 2021. And we spoke of that variance in the slide in another analysis. Community-wide sales total 960 through November 2021. This is the more than expected resales has contributed an additional $1.1 million to the reserve funds. Slide 8, please. And speaking of those reserve funds, the reserve and contingency funds have an adjusted balance as shown here. Starting with the first column on the left, the funds have a combined ending balance of $31.7 million. Included in this total are contributions received this year through assessments, trust facility fees, and our investment earnings. The second column shows the work in process of $3.2 million, reflecting the amounts paid for projects not yet complete. And the third column shows the resulting adjusted fund balance of $28.6 million. So what that says is that our adjusted fund balance of 28.6 is trending higher than we had anticipated for this year so far. Slide 9, please. We compare our adjusted fund balances to the historical balances of the past 5 years, and it shows that we've averaged $24 million in the reserve and contingency funds. And you can see again, as I stated before, that 2021 is trending much higher than previous years. Next chart, please. Last chart. Now, this chart shows a listing on this of the fund encumbrances on each one of the outstanding projects by category. And it says of the 13.5 million projects still active and approved by the board, the remaining encumbrances against our reserve and contingency funds is $4.0 million. And that's primarily due to renovation projects. We don't have any major, so far we have no major building projects or equipment projects. And that ends my treasurer's report.
Okay, I got lost.
Next is the financial committee report. And during that report, the last meeting we had on December 15th, 2021, we had a department head update, which I'll just highlight the fact that we did an insurance review. We noted that the department head noted that the insurance for 2022 was bound as of October 1st. And so we now have a definite amount that we know it's going to be for insurance. And of course, that was budgeted for. Also, during September 2021, the staff and members of 3 boards met to review the proposed changes to the purchasing policy. That is an ongoing policy review. We also approved removing certain items from the reserve expenditures report. That is, we eliminated several items that were either closed out and still had appropriated funds left, or that were abandoned. And that was approved to be left out of the expenditure report. And that is my report for the Finance Committee report.
Okay. Next item, strategic planning.
Well, I'm pleased to say that we will be having our first meeting on Monday, January 10th, here, and it'll be in the boardroom as well as hybrid virtual at 1:30 p.m.
1:30, okay. Okay, Community Activities Committee, Director Horton?
Come on. Thank you. At the last CAC meeting on the 9th, I guess it was, let's see. On the 9th, we discussed the court survey, which has now been completed, and the results will be revealed at our next CAC meeting on the 14th. Is that right? Oh, 13th, excuse me, at 1:30. It says it's going to be a virtual meeting, but I would rather it not be, and I will have to get with Recreation on that.
Okay.
Okay? And that's all that I have to say about it.
Okay.
Okay? That ends my report.
So the next item is the Equestrian Center Ad Hoc Committee, and we meet quarterly. And the next meeting is January 26th, and it will be at 1 p.m. in the boardroom. And the newest item for the Equestrian Center, as we voted on today, was dressage court, a new style of riding. It will provide a new style of riding at the Equestrian Center. So the next item is a report of the Landscape Committee. Director Skillman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Landscape Committee, again, meets every other month. I reported at our December meeting about our December 8th meeting. The next meeting will be February 9th. And even though we had no meeting, I'd like to report and basically compliment our Landscape Committee for all that they did during our rain events. They were out there working on down trees and branches and cleaning up a lot of the mess that was made by our two big storms. So our Landscape Committee has done a wonderful job on that. I'd like to compliment them. Our next meeting will be February 9th.
Okay. Next, Egon, you report on the clubhouse renovation?
Well, I'm going to report on the M&C committee first.
Okay.
Okay. So let me get the right piece of paper here. Okay. On December the 8th, we met, and we had, first of all, we had a very, about a 45-minute presentation from UCI on hydrogen as an alternative fuel, and it was a very, very interesting presentation in the sense that it pointed out that it looks like battery is not going to be the end-all of things, probably because of at least the current quantity, understanding of how much lithium is available. And so this professor put together the advantages of hydrogen, which are pretty considerable, but we did not get into costs because costs are also quite considerable. I think this is for future generations, but it was good. It was good to hear about that. We are moving forward slowly but surely with adding additional solar lighting in the employee parking lot. We're going to hear, but we have not heard specifics on reconfiguring the workstations in the resident services. That's that rotunda you see downstairs on the other side of the boardroom. There's supposed to be some reconfiguration, but we have not yet seen any proposed plans. And then finally, there's some epoxy remediation that is requested at the Golf Star building, which is basically Club 19, and has to do with some leaky pipes. Actually, that by the water, water supply lines, not the sewer line. So there is some leakage there, and remediation is proposed, and I think we'll see that in the future closed meeting. And then the next meeting of the M&C committee, next regularly scheduled meeting, will be February. Okay. Then we also met the renovation clubhouse renovation committee met on two meetings. One, we had a special closed meeting on December the 29th at noon, and we discussed issues relating to the Building E feasibility contract, and we will present our findings at the closed meeting. Then we had a regular open meeting where we discussed renovation of the existing rooms and the main lounge, and it was a very long, drawn-out discussion. And in the end, what we decided, we needed to get some control of how we're going to develop the motif. And to that end, the task group is going to be put together, and Debbie Dotson will head that task group. Sue Stevens will be on it, and all the advisors for the M&C committee or the ad hoc committee will be invited to participate in that work. And we talked briefly, just discussed a complaint we had about the lack of HVAC in the archery facility. Those things are being cooled off by swamp coolers, and there was some complaint about that. But the smallness of the club and the fact that we may renovate or eliminate those buildings and replace them with something else makes putting an HVAC system in there now at this time not feasible. We also discussed briefly a complaint about some noise mitigation in one of the dining rooms. And then I did make a presentation, 20 minutes or so of a PowerPoint on earthquake matters in the LA Basin and how it relates to the risk that we have here relative to the places where we see the big headlines about earthquakes. And that presentation, I think, was made available to all the directors. And we will have another meeting at the end of January. We have not yet got a date for that. And that's where we stand right now on those committees. Thank you.
Okay. So the next item would be the Media and Communications Committee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We did not meet in December, and next meeting will be January 17th at 1:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. Question?
That's Martin Luther King Day. Do we think we're going to reschedule?
Doubt it. I don't know.
Okay.
Thank you for, I'll check it out.
And check it on February too, because that's President's Day. I just noticed they're both.
Thank you for reminding me. If that's the case, Eileen, we'll work it out, and everybody on the committee will know.
Okay.
We'll publish it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. You're finished?
Thank you. That's the end of my report.
Okay. So the next report will be from report of the Mobility and Vehicles Committee, Director Tibbetts.
All right, thank you, Madam President. Our December 1st meeting was canceled, and our next meeting will be February 2nd at 1:30. That's it.
Okay, but keep in mind, you're going to have a special meeting on January 14th.
That's not the committee report, but it's a separate meeting, yes.
Right, right. I just wanted
And
to,
the reason, it's not a secret meeting, but it was brought up this morning, and has to do with the contract, the discussion of the contract, and a lot of other items. And that's why we've been working on it kind of in closed session, but the word got out, obviously,
as always.
as always.
Nothing secret in the village. Okay, so the Security and Community Access Committee report?
Okay, the security meeting, our last meeting was scheduled for December 27th, which is a very busy time of year, so staff asked us to cancel it, which we did, and I'm glad to help out. Our next meeting will be scheduled, or is scheduled for February 28th at 1:30. That finishes both reports.
Okay, thank you. So traffic hearings? Are you going to report on that, Elsie?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize for not being there with you all. I'm a big advocate for being in the boardroom, but I haven't been feeling well, but I have been tested and I'm COVID negative. So I plan to be back on my feet by next week easily. So just wanted to say that. We had our meeting on December the 15th, our hearing, and there were 5 people scheduled, but 3 of those people rescheduled, and maybe it's getting so close to the holidays, but anyway, we had 2 people, both of them stop sign violations, but one of them, there was an inadvertent mixing up of the videos, and so the man requested to be rescheduled because the video was missing. But that was at his request. We offered to find him guilty, but he wanted to be rescheduled, so we went ahead and rescheduled. And the last person, and the only person that we actually had a hearing on was found, I really hate that word guilty, but was found responsible and assessed a fine. The next meeting will be January the 19th, 2022. And at this time, it's listed as virtual. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the Information Technology Advisory Committee, Director Hopkins.
Thank you, Director or Madam President.
Gift me.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed somebody? Oh, I'm sorry. Director Skillman, Disaster Preparedness.
Very important.
Yes, it is.
The task force met in November. We again meet every month. Our next meeting is January 25th. However, we do have a radio drill every single month, and that radio drill has been very successful. There have been 1 or 2 people out because of the holiday, but for the most place, we're all there, and our radio drill as well. The other thing is, there is a recreation bazaar coming up this next month, and we want to have a disaster preparedness task force table there with the items that are in the disaster preparedness room that nobody knows about down at the end of the corridor, to try to just publicize a little bit more what is available for our residents. So we have a Zoom meeting coming up to talk about that.
Okay, thank you. All right, Jim, you're up next.
Okay. Well, ITAC committee is getting ready for the future. As you probably know, and I will repeat this, our current systems, the AX systems and the Stellar systems, are unsupported or will be unsupported and will be functionally obsolete within the next year. So this committee was formed to consider where do we go and how do we move forward. And essentially, what we looked at, the committee is comprised of 6 or 7 IT, finance, accounting, and business professionals, all with years of experience so that we can make the right decisions. We have involved all of the VMS staff, heads, to evaluate various systems, and we have evaluated the systems ourselves. We've also gone through, as part of the process, a business valuation. In other words, what does it do for us ultimately? The results of that valuation will be presented at the next meeting. I have seen the preliminary results, and it looks very, very good. So the next meeting is, we meet once a week. It's closed session. And within the next month, we will be coming out with a recommendation. That's my meeting.
This has been such an accelerated committee, and all to the benefit of the village, and meeting weekly, basically because we feel that it is so necessary to get a new system here and protect us in the future, basically from any other kind of malware, and also to provide a better working environment for VMS. So I'm really happy, and I'm really behind, getting this new system in. So the next item is future agenda. We have no future items at this point in time. Are there any director comments? I think, Juanita.
I think everybody is aware that there was a bomb scare at Saddleback Hospital right across the street from Gate 2 weekends in a row where they had to evacuate. They had helicopters going around that area, scared many of our residents. What's going on? They don't know. And my concern is they called security, and security did not know. I had 2 or 3 people who called me to say, what's going on? I've called security, and they don't know what's going on. So I think whenever something like that happens, the sheriff's department or whatever needs to contact our security just so we can have an answer to our residents who live in that area, because it was pretty scary.
And I agree with you, and usually we get an email, a blast, or something else.
We got
with
nothing. There
income.
was no.
Yeah.
Right away. Yeah. In fact, I learned about it from TV. Channel 7 had their helicopter up there, et cetera.
Yeah.
But if people weren't watching television, didn't know, and their first indication is to call security, and security says, I don't know what you're talking about. Because they're not over where that helicopter was, and the lights and the noise, et cetera. So I just would like to say that we really need to be in a little better communication. I know it's off our campus, but it's right across the street. And since they've had 2 in a row, we don't know, there may be more. Thank you.
Is there any other comments?
Yeah, that bomb scare, there were 2 of them.
Yeah, 2
Yeah.
weekends in a row.
My wife volunteers over there 2 days a week, and she wasn't involved in one, but they did take some patients out, and it was the same person, and they're looking into it. They're going to find them. That's all I know about it.
Okay, Elsie?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on what Juanita said and how important it is for our security to be kept in the loop, because let's face it, a huge percentage of the people that go to Saddleback Hospital would be us. And it seems like if we knew, then say you had an appointment over there, or, it would just keep us out of the area. And otherwise, we might just go wandering into a bad situation, all unknown. That's all.
Okay, thank you. And Reza?
I just want to say that we are thankful for the rain and the snow that we got, but it's hardly made a dent in the drought. So we're still in the drought situation. Don't be, take that. We have a lot of rain. And with it come a little bit destruction of the trees and things that in the community. And I want to thank landscaping. They moved on it pretty quickly because one of the areas on Bahia Blanca was major tree was uprooted and closed the roads for about a couple of days. It was weekend, so I assume that it's going to be that Monday, and they came in and cleaned it up. Thank you for taking care of the community.
Thank you. Joan?
I just want to say, maybe security should call the sheriff and find out what's going on if they aren't notified. Just be proactive. Don't rely on the sheriff who's very busy notifying us.
Okay. Who's next? Jim and then Yvonne?
Yeah, just a comment on that. I know everybody wants to know when, actually the helicopters were circling my manor. But, what do we expect out of the sheriff's department as a community? And what does any community expect out of the sheriff's department for notification? And I know we're a special community, and we have our own security. But does, those adjacent to us, Lake Forest, et cetera, do they expect the same level of notification from the sheriff's department? So I'm not sure what the protocol is for the sheriff's department for notification for incidents like this, but we may want, while we look into it, we may be expecting too much from a sheriff's department. We can always call the sheriff's department, by the way. They are our, our law enforcement. We can always call them, and we'll probably get the busy signal or some sort of other type of public notice. But again, to expect our security department to be aware and give us all the information on something like that may be expecting too much.
Yvonne?
Well, I'm going to talk on a different subject.
Okay.
I was watching TV the other day, and I saw Juanita reminding the village to wear their mask. And I'm piggybacking off of her. And I'm going to encourage all of our members and people that live in the village to wear their mask. And now I'll put mine back on. Thank you.
And Debbie?
And I was going to say the very same thing. Remember, stay safe, wear your masks, do what you need to do to protect yourself and your loved ones. A lot of people, this is, unfortunately became a political issue, which it should not. This is a health issue. So please take care of yourself, stay safe. This was a good meeting. We appreciate the people who did come here today and spoke to us. I want to encourage our residents, if you're looking at us on TV or watching this in a replay, that we do have open member comments in the beginning of our meeting or on agenda items, and we are here to listen to you. So please, if you have something to say, there's a solution to every problem, but we need to know about it. So that's it.
Thank you. And me, as president, I'm looking forward to working with every one of the board. We have a fabulous board, and I feel that we benefit this community greatly. So thank you. With that, let's recess and go to lunch. Recess.